Who am I? One might reasonably ask, who do I think I am? Offering opinions on issues of the day. Well, I have a couple of answers to this, but my first answer is, who do I have to be? The truth is that we care way too much these days about identity. We ask ourselves who we are, and some people come up with the answer that they are their heritage, their race, their blood, their soil. Others talk about their faith, others talk about their political identity or their sexual identity or whatever. And a lot of this is unfortunately way too narcissistic. And what I mean by that is, who cares? We're human beings in a republic, and we are trying to make sense of life, and we are trying to feel our way, intuit our way, reason our way through this thing called life in a way that will preserve the good from the past and build more good in the future. And the greatest good that we have in the American republics is freedom. So, who I am is much less important than what I say or what I do or what I choose. And I honestly believe the same thing is true for most of us. I think we should stop gazing at our navels and wondering about our various selfnesses and instead just get out there and try to lead a good life and do the right thing and be a bit more action oriented and a bit less introspective. Having said that, it's a reasonable thing to want to know something about the background of the person who you are choosing to occupy some of your auditory time with. So let's go through. I was born in Manhattan. There's my cat Churchill, of Yankee Irish stock. On my mother's side and Cuban Puerto Rican stock on my father's side. Growing up in the Bronx and in central Connecticut, I fondly remember being allowed to participate in the Sunday dinner conversations where my extended family debated politics and religion. Yes, where most healthy families avoid such topics at gatherings, my family focused on them. My overwhelmingly liberal relatives gave me a love for the vibrant discussion of ideas. Some of my earliest memories are of walking the streets of the Bronx in the mid 1970s. These streets resembled 1945 Berlin more than those of an American city. Buildings reduced to rubble in the race riots of the 1960s were as common as those which were intact. Garbage was piled in the streets in man-high berms because of strikes, and the subways were filthy and covered with graffiti. Nothing worked. I learned young about how liberal Democrats govern cities. I personally witnessed the 1977 blackout riots in New York City. I watched from my grandparents' fifth floor walk up as crowds of people became a mob. I saw people give up their individuality, transforming from individual grasshoppers into components of a destructive locust swarm. My political awakening occurred in the malaise-ridden Carter years, particularly during the Iran hostage crisis. I was an enthusiastic witness to the impotence of Carter being replaced by the moral clarity of Ronald Reagan. My experiences with New York and Jimmy Carter made me a conservative. My single mom became the first female police detective in Wallingford, Connecticut. For 20 years, she dealt with cases of rape and child molestation that sickened her Korean and Vietnam War combat veteran colleagues. She is my hero. At Bates College, my innocent hopes of joining a refined world of reasoned discourse were shattered by a feminist professor, among others, who equated saying words like mankind with rape. When I told her that she was trivializing this horrible crime, she kicked me out of her office. Like most college leftists, she exhibited no intellectual curiosity, no tractability to reason, and no respect for dissenting free speech. I became deeply embroiled in politics during college. This, in addition to my poor self-discipline, led to my failing out of college in the second semester of my senior year. If you're going to fail, fail big. This failure made me. With God's help and the ongoing love of my fiance, I built myself back from the abyss. I learned how to work hard and went to night school. After a decade in the proverbial wilderness, I had my degree, a loving wife, successful management experience, and was on my way to becoming a history teacher who has a cat. My vocation is to introduce young people to their cultural heritage. History tells us who we are as Americans and depicts both wisdom and folly. Examples of both are replete throughout recorded history. I have the honor to help acculturate coming generations by coherently teaching the full scope of Western civilization, from universal creation to the present. More than anything, I teach how the individual can always change the world. No one is irrelevant. Our opinions, whatever they may be, matter. It is our duty as free people to develop thoughtful convictions about what is worth living for, dying for, and even killing for, and then engage fully in the civic discourse that will sculpt our future. Slaves don't have to worry about the news. Citizens must. This is why I want to speak here, to examine how universal controversies connect to our individual lives.